Hey, it's Soleil, and this is episode 215 of the Orange Pill Investor. And today I want to talk about time, but it doesn't have jack shit to do with theta decay, days to expiration, or any of that option stuff. So this is not exactly a political discussion. I'm not going to take sides or anything, but I guess it's an explanation for why I abstain. I no longer vote. I actually started out pretty responsible after I turned 18. I decided I was going to go check out the Democratic and the Republican party planks, and see what they stood for. And I was like, all right, some of this Democrat stuff's all right, some of this Republican stuff's all right. And then I found the Libertarian plank, and I was like, it was all the good stuff from the Democrats, and it was all the good stuff from the Republicans, and it didn't have um, any of the things that were like one issue, just no go. Like, oh, I would vote for a Democrat, but they support this, so I just can't. And it didn't have any of the stuff like, oh, I would vote for a Republican, but because of this one issue, I just can't. And so I voted Libertarian for a couple of elections, but even since then, I have just completely abstained. And the reason is it's just not. There's no return on the investment. So in the stock market, options, everything else, we are concerned with getting a return on our investment. And I'm not necessarily recommending reading this book because it's boring as shit. But if anything that I say doesn't make sense, you can read this and then decide for yourself whether I just explained it poorly or not. But there are a lot of hurdles to go through to make spending any time whatsoever investing in politics a good idea. So, first of all, unless you're an economist, you don't know anything about the economy, and you you don't know what doctors know, and you don't know what teachers know, and you don't know what automakers know. And these people are going to be in charge of all of that crap. And it's pretty obvious that none of them know it either. But some of these people consider themselves informed voters, and every single one of them is completely full of shit. Because I don't care how much time you spend researching all of these issues, you're not going to become an expert in all of them. So you're not going to be really qualified to make a decision. But not only that, you're not even voting on the issues themselves. Even if you did do all of that research, now you're voting on someone who is telling you that they're going to be a good choice for those. And clearly they're not up on all of this crap either. So they're just going to have to find somebody else to do it. And at that point, you have to you have to spend all of this time and effort to research the issues, and then research this person and their opinion on the issues. And even if you become the quote unquote informed voter, then you have to trust that they are actually even telling the truth. So, like libertarians are right about everything. And even this year, there's there's a pretty shitty libertarian out there, as far as I can tell, who won the nomination. So I guess I shouldn't say that they're all right about everything, but they at least have the potential to be right about everything. But it doesn't matter because they can't get enough votes to get elected. So being right doesn't mean jack shit. The only people who have a chance to be elected are the ones that are have no idea what the fuck they're doing. And I don't want to hear any emotional arguments about, oh, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything, or I'm just voting for the lesser of two evils. This is the most important election of our lifetimes. And I'm a Bitcoiner. It's like, oh, I'm a one issue voter. This is good for Bitcoin. That's all emotional, manipulation. So GFY on all of that crap. I'm not falling for it. So even if you research the issues, you research the candidates, then you would still have to trust a couple more hurdles. One, that they're actually telling the truth. And even like, my dream election that I still wouldn't have voted for would have been like Gabbard and RFK Jr. on the Democrat side, and then Vivek and who gives a shit on the other side. At least I could respect people who registered and were like, oh, you know what? These guys don't suck on everything. Like, maybe we'll avoid World War III with any one of these people. But if you're behind pretty much anybody else, of course, I respect everyone's right to do whatever they want, but I don't really respect the decision. To me, I haven't seen anybody else that's really even respectable. So I know there's a bunch of people out there that are on, various trains, or even like using reverse psychology, like, oh, Kamala is the better choice because she'll fuck up the economy even worse, and that's even better for Bitcoin. So they're doing like a reverse Uno into that decision somehow. But politicians can't be trusted. You can't be trusted. You're not going to know what to do. But not only that, and this is really it took me a long ass time to even get to this point, but your vote is not going to count. So the chances that out of, what do we got, a couple of 100 million people in this country, 300 million, it might be 400 million with the fucking illegal immigrants at this point. But, the chances, I think was the last election, what, like 50 million people voted for either Republican or Democrat. So the chances that your one vote would cast the deciding vote, like it's going to be 50 million, and holy shit, it's a tie. It's 50 million to 50 million, and you got to get down to the polls to cast that deciding vote. That is a once in 1,000 years chance. So you can waste all of this time researching the issues, researching the candidate, trusting that they're actually telling the truth and not just paying lip service to what everybody wants to frickin' hear. But you have to actually imagine that you're going to get struck by lightning and win the lottery on the same day by casting the winning vote. Because if you don't, then all of that time and effort and really damage to your soul, because I don't really even think that participating in politics, I don't think the human soul can even survive that, because it's really all about trying to wrestle power and dominate another person against their will. It's basically just forcing other people to do what you want them to do against their consent, just because you got 51% of the people to raise their hand and say that that's the tyranny that you want them to live under. So there's that part as well. Like if you want to shatter your soul into 7 parts, into 7 horcruxes every time you cast a vote, that's on you. I think you can make a bigger claim for like local elections, guys that you could actually go and talk to, and maybe go to a town hall and, yell at them or something. There's at least a better argument for that. But then even if you jump all of those hurdles, you think you know the issues, you think you know how the person stands on the issues, you think they're telling the truth, but then they also have to be able to execute. So they have to be able to, manipulate their policies and get them pushed through. If they don't have all of the branches of government aligned, it's not going to happen. Even Trump found out real damn quick that whether he was just lying through his teeth about draining the swamp and really wanted to, or made an attempt and just couldn't do it. Saying drain the swamp is easy to say, but draining the swamp that don't want to be drained is another thing, because there's fucking alligators in there. So good luck trying to find the drain plug and not getting gator rolled. And he found that shit out real quick, and his rhetoric has certainly softened after getting his head nearly blown off. He's not talking all that shit about basically the government trying to assassinate him. Whether you believe that conspiracy theory or not, I don't really care. But he's certainly not raising that alarm, which he could do to benefit his campaign. So why isn't he rattling that sword? Because he's probably scared that it'll put another bullet in his freaking head, or do it in another more easier to do manner. But even beyond that, what this book talks about is democracies just inherently choose bad policy. This is not a bug. This is a feature. And the point is that voters don't vote on rationality. Voters don't go and find out what economists believe and then vote for good economic policy. Voters are irrational, and they will do whatever the most convincing politician running can scare them into believing. So, tariffs are bad for everyone. Economists, understand this, but they can just say, oh, well, if we don't enact these tariffs, then, all our jobs go to China or whatever. And you can just run down all of the issues. Anything that's good, there's a more convincing emotional argument against it, and voters are more swayed by the emotional, pain that we imagine because we believe what these politicians are telling us. But they have no incentive to deliver good policy because good policies get you voted out of office. If for people to actually implement austerity and take away all of the government subsidies and the handouts and just let people be free and reduce all the government bureaucracy, all of that shit will get you thrown out of office. You will never win re-election. So the incentive for politicians is to promise one thing and then deliver whatever they can that won't get them voted out, because their number one incentive is to win re-election. And good policies will not get you reelected, only fear and emotional manipulation. So, at least I can respect myself for having libertarian principles. But that is not even enough to get me to go out and waste my time voting for someone who, one, won't get elected anyway, and two, would probably just be corrupted by ultimate power anyway. If we were to get a libertarian president in there, there's no telling, how much the other branches would cooperate with him. Or, maybe he just gets full of himself and thinks, oh, I'm a good person, so I can implement these policies in a way that nobody else could. Just not realizing that the system is going to do what the system's going to do. And you can you can ride an elephant and ask it politely to move in what direction you want to, but if it doesn't want to, it just won't. So there's absolutely no return on investment. So every second, every minute, every hour of time spent on politics, learning about politics, becoming an informed voter, driving your dumb ass down to the polling booth, is all a complete waste of time because your vote doesn't matter. And and even if it did, in the 1 in a trillion bajillion chance that you cast the deciding vote, it still doesn't matter, because if you cast the right vote, then the good decisions are shared amongst everyone. So you spent all of this time and effort, but you don't get all of the reward. And if you cast the wrong decision, now everybody just gets screwed. So anybody who casts the wrong, quote, for the worst candidate just gets to outsource their pain and suffering which is what we've been experiencing for the last, as long as I've been alive. Let's just say 5 decades. All the stupid bad votes get to outsource all of their poor decisions to the entire country, and not just including the people who voted correctly, but the people who abstained and really wanted to be left alone. What if 100 million people voted? That means 200 million people didn't. So like, more than half of the population does not even consent to this decision, and they're still going to be exposed to the poor choices that you dumb motherfuckers make. So I did not intend to ramble that long, but rational voter is a myth. You probably think you're the exception. You're not. You're irrational. You're ignorant about what the correct policy decisions are, and also about what are the best candidates to vote for. And I don't trust myself, and I definitely don't trust y'all. All right, be good, y'all.